Akadosh, Boker or Shavua Tov, Masechet Bava Kamma Daf Elmaleh 17a1 says the Gemara. The Gemara says, right, that there was a whole concept to do with that you do kavod hamet. What is kavod hamet? You place a yeshiva al kivro. You make a yeshiva by his kever. So some people actually speak about it. It's not dafka mamash on his kever. It's lilu nishmato. Right? But you're not allowed to learn, right, mamash by a kever of hamet, right? But it means that, but there's difference. But there's difference of opinion. Some people just say it's like lilu nishmato, right? But basically, you're making a yeshiva al kivro lilu nishmato. There's machloka between Binatan and Banan. One of them says it's going to be 3 days. One of them says 7 days. And some people say that it's even going to be 30 days. So there's a whole question, how many days is it kavod hamet to place a yeshiva al kivro after he passed away? Tanu Banan, we learned in the Braita. The kavod asulo bemoto. They made a kavod for him when he passed away. Who is that referring to? This is in Divrei Yamim. So it says this is referring to Chizkiyahu melech Yehuda. Chizkiyahu melech Yehuda, sheyatzu lefanav 36,000 chalutzei chatef. There were 36,000 people that came out revealing their arms, which means that they tore their clothing. Okay? And that means that when they tore their clothing, you were able to see their shoulders. That's why it says chalutzei katef, right? And it says, these are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. So 36,000 people. You know what that means? That's a lot of people. Right? Amalo Rabbi Nechemiah says Rabbi Nechemiah, Alo lifnei Achav asuken. Says, well, they did that for Achav also. Ela, but rather shinichu sefer Torah al mitato. They placed the sefer Torah on his coffin. Right? Ve'amru, and they said, Kiem zeh mashkutu bazeh. That's the kavod that they did. They put a sefer Torah on the coffin, and they said, this person that's buried here, this person that's in this coffin, was mekayem everything which was written in the sefer Torah. Who else did they do that always? By somebody in the desert. Who else did they do that? Well, no, Moshe. Moshe was not carried around in a coffin. Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik, there was the Aron always going with Arono Shel Yosef. And the Goyim asked, what's this? He said, Arono Shel Yosef. What's this? The Aron HaKodesh. He says, what's the connection? It's like you're taking a Sefer Torah with a dead body. What's going on? He said, no. Which means that since he was fulfilling that which it is, he's like a Sefer Torah. Right? That's what it is. What? By the way, Sefer Torah Shabbalah, which means the Sefer Torah that gets old and they have to put it in Genizah. Where do they put it in Genizah? With the deceased, with the Tamid Chacham, somebody that's Mekayem with Torah. Yeah? Fine. Says the Gemara. Amar, V'ha'idna, Nami Avdina Nahachi. Says the Gemara that nowadays we also do Zilim, which means we're going to take out a Sefer Torah by the Levaya of an Adam Gadol. Apuke, right? So says the Gemara, right? 1 second. We also do that nowadays. So what's a big chidush now that they did it by Chizkiyahu? So answers the Gemara, Apuke mapkinan anuche lo manchinan. No, we take out a Sefer Torah, but we don't put it on the mitah of the deceased. Meaning nowadays it's true. We might take out the Sefer Torah also, 100%, but we're not going to put it on the mitah, on the coffin. And some people say, we do put it on the coffin. But we don't say that we don't say that the saying that he was mekayim, that which was happening over here. That we don't say. Okay? Next. Amar Rabbi Barchana, says Rabbi Barchana, Hava azilna be'adeh Rabbi Yochanan. I was going with Rabbi Yochanan. Lemishal, right? Shmata. Right? I was going with Rabbi Yochanan to come and to ask, right, a question in halakha. Right? Ki hava ayil, right? He comes and he says, when he was going up to the Bet HaKiseh, hava bina mineh milta. Right? I would ask him about halakha when he was coming out. Okay? So he says, lo pashitlan, but he wouldn't answer us ademashi yadeh until he used to wash his hands. Right? So one more time. He used to go with Rabbi Yochanan. Now, he always used to walk with Rabbi Yochanan to ask him questions. Meaning, right, if Rabbi Yochanan sitting down and learning, you can't bother him. But if he's going to the washroom or he's going on the path, so now they used to accompany them, and that's when they used to be able to ask them questions. So what happened? When he used to go to the washroom, he used to ask him a question. When we used to ask him a question after leaving the washroom, he would never answer him until washing his hands. That's mashayade, manach tefillin, and put on tefillin, and then he used to make the bracha on the tefillin. And then he used to tell us, afilu kiyem, right? He used to tell us, he went and he told us this, afilu kiyem ze mashkudu bazeh, Aminan, we do say it. Limed ze ma shekatuv bazeh, lo amnin. Which means in the Alvayav of Hizkiah, they said limed ze ma shekatuv bazeh, which is a bigger shevach than kiyem, because lekayem just means you fulfill that which is written in the Sefer Torah. Limed means not only that you fulfill it and you teach it. So according to Shitat Rabbi Yochanan, they used to say, even nowadays, they would take out the Sefer Torah, yes. They would actually put it on the coffin, yes. Would they say Kiyem ze ma shekatuv bazeh? Yes. So what didn't they do that they did by Hizkiah? They didn't say limed ze ma shekatuv bazeh, to teach. Kiyem is to fulfill. So that they would still say, but not teaching. This teaching is even a higher level than the fulfill. So says the Gemara, the Amar Mor Gadol Limud Torah Shalimud, says, what are you talking about? According to what you just said, it's much greater the learning of the Torah, right? Because the limud brings to the maseh. So therefore, if the limud Torah is coming mid the maseh, so it comes out maseh at small is even greater than. So why does Rabbi Yochanan come and he say that the limud of the Torah is greater than lekayem the Torah, fulfillment of the Torah? It's the exact opposite. The limud is only to bring you to fulfill. The learning of the Torah is only that you should be able to fulfill it. What does it help? Learning Torah and you don't fulfill nothing. What does it help? You understand? Like the rabbi said last night, the rabbi comes, he tells you guys, titzchasku, become stronger, become better, and then he goes to the casino. Right? What does that help? Yeah? What does that help? The limud is supposed to bring to the maaseh. So therefore, what's going on? So answers the Gemara, it's not a question. Hale migmar, the hale gmure. He comes and he says like this, the limud of Torah, right? You're right. When we're talking about limud and being mekayem, right? Learning and fulfilling, but fulfilling is more important. But limed, right, is a higher level because then he's teaching other people to be, he's mizaket rabim. He's being zikuy rabim. How do you say zikuy rabim in English? Right, he's teaching the multitude, so he's giving them merits to the multitudes, and that's a much higher level. Okay, right. We're going to finish this perek, right, with Divrei Gadta. Right, we're finishing chapter 1, and when we're finishing the chapter 1, you make a siyum for us. Right, when you're going to finish chapter 1, we're going to have a Gadta. Gadta is stories, right? It's not halacha, stories, agadot. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan Nishum Bar Yochai says Rabbi Yochanan name Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. My dictive, what does it mean in the pasuk? Ashrechem zore'eh al kol mayim meshalchen regel ashor v'chamor. What does it mean? Fortunate are the ones that they plant on water, right? Meshalchen regel v'ashor v'chamor. Right? Kol ha'osek b'torah u'gemilut chasadim. Anybody that's going to be osek b'torah u'gemilut chasadim zoche lenachala shnei shvatim. If you're going to come, you're going to learn Torah and also do gemilut chasadim, you're going to be zoche in the nachala of two different tribes, Yosef and Yisachar, right? Because Zore'eh, right, it's the Kavach Chesed, which is Zriyah. Al Kol Mayim is a Torah. So remember, water refers to the Torah. Zriyah refers to Chesed, right? Matzmiach Yeshua, right? It's talking about Zore'ah Tzedakot. Zore'ah is Tzedakot. What is Tzedakot? Tzedakah. When you're Zore'ah, when you're planting, that refers to Chesed. When it says water, water always refers to the Torah, just like it says, anybody that's thirsty, go run to the water, which means go run to the Torah, because the Torah is a life source. Right? Meshulal l'mayim. Chazak u'baruch. Shneimar, but it says in the pasuk, Ashrechem zoreh v'en ziyah letzedakah. Shneimar, zilu lachem tzedakah. That's what we say, zoreh tzedakot. We say in Baruch neimot titenu. And at tefillah. V'kitzur lefi chased. V'en mayim elo Torah. Shneimar, hoi kol tzameh lechu l'mayim. Yeah? You have it there. Now, v'zochel le'nachalat shnei shvatim. So now what's the connection though between Yosef and Yisachar? So he says, Zochel lekila kemon Yosef. He's going to be Zocheh to chen v'kavod. Right? Chen, grace, and kavod, just like Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik had, dichtiv ben purat Yosef ben purat ha'elayim, banot tzadar l'shul. Right? So therefore that is Yosef HaTzadik. So therefore when you come and you do Torah and Chesed, you're going to be Zocheh to chen v'kavod. Chen v'chavod yiten Adonai, Elohim natan lo yochim etumim. What does that mean? Chen v'chavod yiten Hashem. Hashem will give chen, grace, and kavod. Why? Because Yirat Hashem, right, always gives a person chen. Right? That's what it says. Right? The person that he has God-fearing and he learns Torah, he has chen, he has grace. But he also gets kavod. En kavod, ela Torah. Huh?
Right, only the jinn, no?
Yeah. Okay? And then he says, Yisachar is Ashirut. Right? He says, Yisachar Chamor Garem. What is Chamor Garem? Unclus translates Chamor Garem, Ashir Benechasim, rich in his properties. Right? So he says over here, so a person will become rich. Wow, here it says, Rashi says, it's fitting to learn Torah in order to get riches, to get wealth. That's way you could be able to learn Torah. And that's why he had a special bracha, right, of wealth, in order that he would be able to sit down and learn Torah properly. So imagine a person that comes and learns Torah and does chesed, he's zocheh to shtei nachalot, nachalav Yosef HaTzadik, chem v'chavod, and the nachalav Yisachar, which is going to become wealthy. It's the Amri, and other people say, oivav noflim lefanav. His enemies also fall in front of him, right? Just like Yosef Tzaddik. Tichtiv bahem amim yenegach yachtav av se'aretz, right? Just like it says, bahem, with their karniyaim, right? They're going to come and they're going to gore. Vezochel lebina. It's going to be zochel also to understandings. Ki Yisachar, like Yisachar, dichtiv, umibnei Yisachar yudeh binyan leitim, adam hayaseh Yisrael. Right, again, there's basically a pasuk coming and saying that at the end of the day, just like by Yosef HaTzadik, he was able to take his gores, right? That was Bahema Yenagach, Negicha, Nagach, Shosh Nagach. We're talking about goring, right? So therefore, he was able to gore all the other nations. So therefore, the enemies will fall in front of them. That's a pshat of going in front of Yosef. And he's going to be zochet to understanding, because Yisachar had understanding. It says, the children of Yisachar, they have understanding in the times. To know what's going to happen to Yisrael. Bina is a very special attribute. That's why they say the women have an extra bina. Right? Bina Yetera was given to women. Women have an extra understanding. So therefore, that's why it's so important. Adran alach arba'a avot. We finished the first chapter of 4 avot nezikim. Until here, we're clear. We're continuing now with Perek Sheni, the second chapter of Masechet Bava Kamma. Yeah. So it says over here like this. It says the Mishnah, Keitzad aregel mu'edet. How is the regel mu'ad? And therefore it would have to pay nezek shalem. Remember that we said that shen the regel are mu'adim mitchilatan. They're mu'ad from the beginning. When it eats, that's the shen. Right, or regel when it destroys while walking. So, Keitzad ar regel mu'edet. Answers the Gemara. L'shaber, the Mishnah says, l'shaber b'derech hiluchav. It's going to break utensils or objects when it's walking. So therefore, the behemah is already going to be mu'ad. It's considered a mu'ad when it's walking normally, and it's going to be destroying things. And therefore, you're going to be chayav l'shalem nezek shalem. But if it was kicking the utensils, meaning it wasn't just walking and just trampling upon it, it was mamash kicking it, right? He was trying to play soccer, right? And he actually got it. He won. Yeah, he destroyed it. Yeah, you heard.
This is in the Shusha Rabbim, correct?
Well, no, because if it's going to be in the Reshut Rabim, it's going to be patur. But 1 minute. Well, we're going to see. So he said over here, if it was kicking, or שהיו צרורות מנצים מתחת רגליה ושברה את הכלים, or it's walking and it kicks out stones. I said that this always happens many times if you drive behind a truck, right? All of a sudden, right, on a highway and things like that, all of a sudden, you see a whole bunch of...
What's the word for that? Is the word for that?
I don't know how they say that in English.
No, a Hebrew word.
It's tzorot. A tzror is a rock.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, that's a tzror.
Vatikach
tzipora, tzror. Pebbles, thank you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's vatikach tzipora, tzror, right? The tzipora took the stone and she did bring Milat to her own son.
It's like a gun. That's why they get that house.
Okay, whatever. We're going to speak about that, what exactly it is, right? But basically, it says over here...
It's a whole sugya in itself.
Yeah. And then he says over here, there it's mishalmim chetzi nezek. There you pay half of the damages. So here it says, if you have tzorot, minatzim, mitachad agav shaverat hakelim, mishalem chetzi nezek. So here it's going to pay chetzi nezek, right? Now, the reason why, because these are tolada of keren. It's not a tolada of regel, meaning even though it's using its feet to do it, it's a tolada of keren. Because if you remember, it was a different halacha. Okay? It wasn't the tolada of regel. Right, meaning that we have to understand what is a av and what is a tolada, and there was differences between them, and therefore we came and we said this is a tolada of regel, because usually when it breaks it, when it's kicking,
Karen.
right? sorry, what
You
did I
said
say?
regal.
Sorry, the tolada of keren. The reason why is
Horn,
because
right?
right horns. Yes, the reason why is because we said that when a person comes and when an animal comes and it kicks, it's done the chavana. So it's not like the regel, which is done without kavana. Meaning, when the animal's walking, he doesn't have kavana to destroy what he's at. He doesn't understand. So he's just walking top of things. There's something underneath it. Trust me, the animal does not make a difference between them. If it's a child underneath, or if it's going to be a utensil underneath, or it's going to be a Tesla underneath, it doesn't care. It just walks. You understand? He just, continues going, right? And therefore, what happens is, right, that's what is going to happen. Okay? Fine. Then he says, Darsa ala kli ushvarato. What happens right now if he was dores ala kli?
It's got to be
Right?
in the private domain of somebody else.
So he comes and he says he's breaking a utensil, or he jumps upon it and therefore he breaks it. Ala rishon, on the first one, he has to pay meshalem nezek shalem because that's darsa lakli ushvarato. The other one, which means that he falls upon it, right? That's going to be
the vessel falls upon a second vessel.
Yes. So he comes and he says, on the first one, you're going to pay nezek shalem. Right? On the second utensil, you're only going to pay chatzi nezek, because the second utensil was damaged from the first utensil. So it's considered like the tzurot. Meaning, what's the difference between if the animal is walking and it sent a pebble flying and it just damaged something, or if it's walking and it destroyed one thing, but that had a chain reaction and destroys another thing, right? So therefore, that's like the pebbles which are shooting out. So therefore, the first one, he has to pay nezek shalem, right? Why? Because the first one was going to be well, we're going to explain in the Mishnah, in the Gemara why exactly. But the second one, it's tzorot. So tzorot, we already learned, you only pay the pebbles, you only pay chetzi nezek. Next, hatarnegolim muadim lalech kadarkan shaber. Tarnegolim are the exact same name, meaning that tarnegolet does not, the rooster always says they don't pay attention to where they're walking. So therefore, they're going to be walking, and if you're going to have a utensil underneath, it's going to damage it. Hayad dalil kashu b'raglav. If you have something which is tied to its leg, right? And therefore he sent it flying and it broke something. Or it was dancing around, right? We just heard somebody dancing around a few minutes ago. Yeah. So he says if they're dancing
still
around.
Still dancing.
Okay, very good. I'm glad you're still dancing. Yeah, so he says, and he's breaking the utensils, right? He's going to pay chetzi nezek. Yeah. We actually learn from here that the fact of you see from here that even dancing, right, is called a mazik, right? That means people think that they could dance, and then the dancing is a mazik, right? Pashut is damaging, right? So he has to pay chetzi nezek. Says the Gemara in Yudzayin Amud Bet, right? Says the Gemara 17b. Says the Gemara, Amar le Ravina le Rava. Says Ravina to Rava, yeah, Hainu regel. Hainu behema. He comes and he says, what is regel and what is behema? Why? The Mishnah said that there are two different things, shonim, where there's no difference between them. So therefore, what's going on exactly? What does that mean exactly? Meaning, it said, Keitzar regel muedet, and then it says, right, a behema muedet. What's regel? What's behema? Behema is an animal. Regel is the foot of the animal, right? So besides putting your foot in it, right, but what's going on over here? Right? Well, what's the difference? Saying the same thing. Elmaleh, Rava comes and he answers Suravina, Tana Avot, Viktani Toladot. The Tana came and taught us the Avot Nezikin, which is basically a regel muedel l'shaber b'derech hilucha. That's an Av Melacha. So the Av Melacha is, right, breaking with the leg, with the feet, right, that he's going to come and start walking. Viktani Toladot, and then he came also and he taught the Toladot, which is basically a Be'ema muedel l'alech kadarka l'shaber, which the kavanah is shoberet balichata through its body or its hair or anything which is on top of it. And that's a tolada of regel. Meaning, the Mishnah is teaching us whether on the av or the tolada, you have to pay nezek shalem. One more time. The regel itself that damages, that comes from the animal. The regel is the animal, right? The foot of the animal. That you have to pay nezek shalem, but not only on the regel, not only on the av, even on the tolada. What's the toladav regel? You know what the toladav regel is? If it's going to break, right?
With her body, hair,
or anything which is attached to it. Like, for example, let's say it's got a burden, right? Meaning it's got like bags or whatever. It's a pack. Saddlebags, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that's a toladah. Also, you have to pay nezek shalem. So says it, and that's what the Mishnah was teaching you, whether on the ab or on the toladah. Okay, before you said complicated. Now you just looked.
And the Karen being is the problem.
Okay, fine. 1 minute. Shwai. Richard. Yeah, you're not going to learn the entire Torah in 1 minute. Yeah, very good. So says the Gemara, Ela me'ata, right? Or on 1 foot. Yeah, he says, Ela me'ata. We're going to come and we're going to ask the following question, right? The Seifa, right? The Seifa, which we're going to learn that the Shen is muedet, right? 1 second, right? We also said, Kate said the Shen muedet. And then it said, right, Abema muedet. My avot, my tolodotika. Where's the avot and tolodot by Shen? Meaning, one more time, go back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, Ketzar haregel muedet. It answers you abema. So we asked, I don't understand. Until now we're not talking about abema. Until now we're not talking about animal. What's animal? Regel is animals. What's going on? No, avot and toladot. Says the Gemara. The next part of the Mishnah said the exact same thing. Ketzar the Shen. Right? How is the Shen? Right? This is the next Mishnah, by the way. It's not our Mishnah. It's the next Mishnah. Remember, the Seifa just means the next Mishnah because by us there's Gemara in between. Right? But in the Mishnah, it's one after another. So the next Mishnah, right, comes in, that's on Yutet Amud Bet, which is 19b. We're on 17b, it's going to be 19b, the next Mishnah. Okay, so I'm just giving you a heads up when's the next Mishnah, Richard. Okay, so the question is, there it said, right, Hashem Muedet, how is it going to be that the Sheketz of Hashem Muedet, and the Gemara also answered a Behemah. Right, a Behemah Muedet to eat Achilat Perot in Yachot. There, where's the Toladah? Where's the Av in Toladah? Yeah, Habema Muedet Ma'avot Ma'ay Tolodotika. Answers the Gemara, Hava Kamahada Lebivdichuta. So Rava, he answered Ravina with schok. Right? Sometimes you have to be schok.
What does that mean?
You have to laugh sometimes. You have to have a joke.
Yeah.
Right? Schok. Right? So what did he do? Elmaleh, he says, Anna Shanai Chada Le'at Shani Chada. I only answered one Mishnah, you answer the second Mishnah. Meaning the joke was, Kilu, okay, I answered up one. No, now it's your turn. You answered. You're up. Yeah, like the doctor says, you're up. And that's your turn. Go ahead. No? So what happened? Tamamai. What's reasoning, Bemet? Why do we have the same in the Seifa? Ravashi says, Tana Shen de Chaya. That we purposely taught Shen of a Chaya. Ektani Shen de Behema. And we taught Shen of a Behema. Which means that there's two different cases. There's the domesticated animal, which is a Behema, and there's a wild animal, the salvaje, the wild animal, which is a Chaya. Right? So therefore, there's going to be the two differences. Now, why did you need both? Sal Kadaita Mina, I would have thought to say, the Shilacha Beiroktiv. It's written, you're going to be Chayav on Nezek Shalem, on Shen, only when he's going to send his Behema. Right? Beiro is the Behema, that's the Targum. The translation of Beiro is the Shilachet Behemto. He sent his animal. In only an animal, yes. But if it's going to be a Chaya, he's not obligated to pay. Meaning if it was a wild animal that went out and damaged and were ate, so he's not obligated to pay. Kamashmaran comes to teach you, right, that when it says Shen, that you're going to be Chayav, the Chayav Bichlal Behema. The Chaya is also part of the Behema in this case, which means that's why we taught Behema. Meaning there's Shen and then there's Behema to include both. Also the Chaya and also the Behema. So the word Beiro is including the Chaya, and that's why when it was written in the Torah, Behema, it included it. So says the Gemara, Ihachi, if so, Hami Baile Lemitin Reisha. He says, if you're going to tell me now that we're talking about the Shen Muedet and we're talking about a Chaya, and then it says Behema Muedet and we're talking about a Behema, Hami Baile Lemitin Reisha. You should have switched it. You first put what's written in the Torah. Shilach Beiro. What is Beiro? I can't hear you, Michelle. Behema. Chazak Baruch. So, if the Torah is explicitly talking about V'shilach Beiro, which means Behema, so what should be the first thing written in the Mishnah? Behema. Then afterwards come and include Chaya. That tell me that Chaya is also included. But why did the Mishnah do the opposite? The Mishnah Kilu was talking about the Chaya, because it just said Shen, and then it said Behema. What's going on? Nafochu. Yeah, Mordechai, Taiti. What's Nafochu? Yeah, the exact opposite. What's going on? It's not Purim. Well, we're coming to Chanukah, not Purim. So he comes and he says, Hai de'ati lemidrasha chavivale. Many times the Gemara does this. The Gemara says, you know what? It comes from a midrash, meaning something written mefurash on the Torah.
Svara.
Yeah, but something which is written mefurash on the Torah. I'm saying everyone knows it. Everyone knows the Bible. You open up the Torah, right? Everyone knows it. Right? It's very, very simple. But something that you learn out of a midrash, You come and say, no, that even though it says this, it's really this. It's chaviv. It's precious. Why? Because that's why a lot of people, they come and they say, right? Yesterday I actually heard somebody come and they say, it's written in Rashi, right? You guys don't know, right? And we were trained to do this. Every single Rashi has a mekor. It's never from Rashi. It's true, we say Rashi ala Torah, right? Because Rashi is the one that brings it down. But if somebody is going to say, but it's a midrash. The majority of Rashis, if you take the Hamaor,
even though he says he's not going to do that, he does
right?
precisely
No.
that.
That's that he won't explain on Pi Drush, right? And he'll always explain on Pi the Pashup Pshat. And once in a while, he'll come in and say, even though I always usually do Pashup Pshat, now I'm going to give you the Drush, which is basically like the Midrash. But the majority of places of Rashi, if you open up Rashi with, for example, Hamaor, or special books of, Mikral Gedolot with Rashi, every single one at the end, he'll say, where did Rashi get it from? This is a Gemara, this is a Midrash, this is a this is a that. Why? Because Rashi doesn't get it on his own, right? Rashi is just bringing down on the Torah how to explain the Pasuk, right? And therefore, if a person says, no, it's not a Midrash, it's Rashi. Oh, Rashi got it from the Midrash. You understand? That's the concept behind it, okay? Fine. Now here, what are we saying? We're saying the fact that we learned from a midrash, right, that chaya is included in behema, it was so special, it was so chaviv, that what? We come and we say that no, that this in itself, right, we wanted to bring it first, even though technically you should have brought it second, because obviously you had a pasuk mefurash, right, in the Torah. You understand?
It makes sense if you work on something.
Right, so it says the Gemara, says 1 second. If you're going to tell me that that's the answer of the Seif of the Mishnah, what was the Seif of the Mishnah? Shen. Shen is the Seif of the Mishnah. And we said that we first brought down the wild animals, and then we brought down Behema. So do the same thing in the Reisha. Right? First teach. Right? And that's what we're saying here. We should have taught that which was not written in the Mefurash and the Torah, which is the Toladah, and then the Av. The Av is written Kilu Mefurash in the Torah. Toladah is not. So do the same thing in the Reisha, which means by Regel. That's what you should have done. First bring down the Toladot, and then you bring down the Av. Says the Gemara, can you compare both cases? Hatam, in the case of the Seifa, they're both Avot. So therefore, since they're both Avot, I'm going to bring down the Midrash, which is more precious. However, though, Shavik Av Vetani Toladah, does it make sense that he's going to leave the Av and bring down the Toladah, which means that this. You have the main rule, which is like the Av. The Toladah is like a branch that comes out of the main part of the tree, right? That's the Toladah. You have the Av, and then you have the Toladah. Are you going to tell me that it makes sense, right? That you're going to tell me that you're going to leave the Av and put a Toladah? Doesn't make sense. So therefore, we're not going to do that. We're always going to bring the Avot first, and then Toladot. Over there, they're all Avot. But just one's with the wild animal, and one's with the regular domesticated animal. One's with the Mefurash of the Torah, one's a Midrash. So therefore, we're going to bring down the Midrash before because it's precious. But at the end of the day, they're all Avot, right? And that's what you're bringing down. Okay? Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Behema mu'edet la'alech kedarka u'shaber. Right? What does that mean that a behema is mu'ed to go on its path and to break? Ketzad, what's the case? This is what Richard was speaking about before. What happens if the animal goes into the property of the nizak? And it damages with its body when it's walking, or with its hair. Now we already said this was the Toladah, right? And he says over derech hulucha, or beukaf shaleh, with the saddle which is on top of it, or beshlif shaleh, with a how did you call it, the pack or the saddle bag? You said saddle bag with pumra. Pumra is the resin, which is the bit
in his mouth, in her mouth.
Okay, the bit in its mouth. And the zug, which is the bell, right? I thought they always translate it as reins. No, the
bit is here. Reins are behind the bit.
Oh, okay, that goes behind it. Okay, fine. Behind the bit, fine. The chamor b'masao, or a chamor that damages with its how do you call this? With its saddleback or with its load. Okay, mishalem nezek shalem. It's going to pay nezek shalem. Okay, so he says sumchu somer srorot. Sumchu says also tzorot also. Or if you have a pig that is going through the garbage, which is normal to do, and with its nose, and it comes and it's going to damage, also mishalem nezek shalem. So according to him, it comes out that tzorot have to pay nezek shalem. Now remember, in all these cases, it's birshut nizak. So since it's going to be in the reshut of the nizak, of the damagee, what are you doing on my property? You have to pay nezek shalem. So says the Gemara, hizik. Now that you're talking about the pig that he's going to damage, and he's obviously pshita, why wouldn't he have to pay? Right? He's hizik begufo. Why would he have to pay? What's the chidush for the pig? So answers the Gemara, la ema hitiz vizik. No, he did the same thing, which means that through his nose he came and he spit out, meaning it hit out pebbles or whatever it is, and then it damaged, and still it's going to pay nezek shalem. So says the Gemara, who's talking about tzrorot now? Meaning, who in the world is talking about tzrorot? That tzrorot has paid nezek shalem. We never talk about tzrorot. We were talking about things of the av melacha, things which come from the direct body or something. Who's talking about like tzrorot over here? So says the Gemara, you're right. We're lacking part of it, of the Braita, and this is what you have to add on. Tzrorot ki orchayhu chetzi nezek. Tzrorot normally have to pay chetzi nezek. But he comes and he says, "V'chazir sheyover b'ashva v'yitiz v'yizik." But a chazir is different. A chazir pays nezek shalem, even though he does the same tzrorot. So an animal that does tzrorot, meaning the animal's walking, and when he's walking, all of a sudden from his feet, when he picks up his feet, it shoots out little tiny pebbles going backwards, and that damages. That's chetzi nezek. But when you're talking about the pig that he's snooping around, I don't know how you want to call it exactly, yeah, and it damages. Right?
We call it rooting, a hog roots. Hog roots.
Oh.
R-O-O-T.
Okay. So
I used to hunt by the hog root.
Yeah?
Yes,
okay.
I did.
So rootings. So if he's going to come, he's going to roots, right? In the ashpa, in the garbage bin, in the dumpster. And then he's going to shoot out with his nose. Right? They call it nose, no?
Snout.
Snout. Okay, thank you. His snout. Yeah, they're going to root out this with his snout. That's tzrorot, and he's going to damage. He's going to pay chetzi nezek.
I have a question.
Okay? 1 minute. Give me 2 minutes.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to get to
Sure,
to the two dots.
Let's
the two
go.
dots is going to okay. So says the Gemara, right? And Sumchus comes and he says, "Tzrorot v'chazir shaya nover b'ashva v'tiz v'zik meshalem nezek shalem." So Sumchus comes and he says that which an animal was doing tzrorot or a chazir, which was nover b'ashva v'tiz v'zik meshalem nezek shalem. So therefore, like this, basically, what we did is we were in a braita. In the braita, we were talking about nezek shalem. And we brought down tzrorot, right? Sumchus brought down tzrorot, and he brought down the chazir. Now we came and we said, who's talking about tzrorot here? And we're talking about certain parts of the animal. Who's talking about tzrorot? Tzrorot are the little pebbles which are coming up. What's going on? Says the Gemara, you're right. We had to come and we had to add into the braita. What was the braita? We had to add into the braita that according to the Tanna Kamma, tzrorot always pays chetzi nezek, half. Right? That's a regular animal. Tzrorot pays half. Right? Now, what happens is that the chazir also pays half, meaning that not only does a regular animal that does tzrorot pays half, when the chazir comes and it roots with its snout,
very good,
right? So therefore also it's going to pay chetzi nezek. Sumchus, and this is what we have now. Because if not, what's the connection? Sumchus all of a sudden comes out, by the way, tzrorot. Who's talking about tzrorot? He says no, because according to the Tanna Kamma, right, the tzrorot and the chazir that does tzrorot is paying chetzi nezek. Comes Sumchus and he says, I apologize. By tzrorot and also by chazir that does tzrorot, nezek shalem. Okay, we're by the two. I don't know, but we learned in the Braita. Tarnegolim shayu mafrichin mimakom lemakom. When you have tarnegolim, they're like flying from one place to another. Shibru kelim bekamfem, and they broke kelim with their knafayim. Okay, so that means with their wings. They come and they broke utensils. Shalem nezek shalem. They have to pay nezek shalem. The ruach shebekamfem. But if they broke the kelim because of the ruach, meaning it caused the air, which means that when they were flapping, the air exactly. Hem lo nagu b'zeh. Ze ba me'aruach meshalim chetzi nezek. Sumchus comes and he says nezek shalem. No, you have to pay full damages. Taida idach. We learned in another braita. Tarnegolim. Okay, Tarnegolim. Shayu me'atzin. Look, we're talking about Tarnegolim me'atzin. You know, me'atzin is rogdim. Merkadim. They're dancing. So you see, we even have today's chapter, right? They're dancing, yeah. So he says over here, right, the Tarnegolim which are dancing. Al gabe isa, al gabe pirot v'timfu. So they're dancing on top of the isa and on top of the pirot, right? And they get all dirty, right? So what happens? Or shenikru. Or they're using, now there's not a snout. How do you call this now? The makor.
Beak.
This is the beak. Thank you. The beak, it's true. All birds have beaks. Okay. The beaks, right? He says over here into the perot, or into so then meshalem nezek shalem. That's pay nezek shalem. Helu afar otzorot, but if they came up and they picked up right on the isa, whether it's going to be afar otzorot, they're going to pay chetzi nezek. Why? Because they didn't do it with their body; they did it with the afar that they came up. Again, that means it wasn't their 100% their koach; it came up from the dirt. That's what came up. Okay, vesumchus somer, and sumchus comes and he says, also in this case, nezek shalem. Okay, also nezek shalem. Fine. Next, Tanya idach, another braita, tarnegol sheya mafriach. So now they're flying. Right? Before they were dancing. Right? We have a lot of people dancing here, yeah? But now they're flying. Yeah, so what happens? They're flying makom makom. Yatzta ruach mitachal kanafav v'shibrat hakelim. It came out the wind under the knafaim and it broke the utensils. Mishalem chetzi nezek. He's going to pay chetzi nezek. So says the Gemara, stama kerabanan. The stam braita is talking about without a machloket. That is going in the shita of Rabbanan. Okay? One second. So says the Gemara now. Okay? Amar Rava. Rava comes and he says, right? Sorry, one more time. We just said that stama is kerabanan. The stam braita is going to kerabanan. Amar Rava. Rava says, Bishma sumchus. I understand according to sumchus. Kasavar kocho ki gufo dami. Sumchus holds that his koach is like his body. So if it makes sense that every single time Sumchus keeps on coming and he's like, steadfast, every single time he keeps on saying, no, nezek shalem. But according to the rabbis, explain. If you're going to tell me it's gufo, kule nezek v'ale shalume. So then he has to pay the entire nezek. V'ilav ke gufo dami. If you're going to tell me it's lav ke gufo, right? So therefore, chetzi nezek lam shalem. You should pay chetzi nezek. So what's going on then? Right? So Hadar Amar Rava comes and he says, right? Leolam ki gufo dami. Really, be'emet, it's considered gufo. The chetzi nezek tzrorot. And now he comes and he says chetzi nezek tzrorot. Hilchata gemira la. Is halacha, right? That is learning. Okay, that's what he comes and he says. Okay, fine. Makes sense or not? Okay, so far so good. Amar Rava. Rava comes and he says, Kol shebezav tameh benezekin meshalem nezek shalem. Any time that anything which is considered a nigiyah, touching by a tumat zav, that means if the zav is going to touch it, right, it's going to be tahor, adam kelim or ochel. So he's going to be metameh ze b'maga, or even
move it, not
right?
touch it.
Well, we're going to see now, right? So, for example, he's going to touch it with maga, which or even nigiyah lidei chafetz acher, right? Or even touching it through something else. For example, if he's going to move the zav in such a way, it's going to be hesed. So, benezekin, if he's going to do the exact same thing in the sekin, he's going to be meshalem nezek shalem. Okay. Now he says, kol shebezav tahor, anything which is going to be in the zav, which is going to be tahor, nezekin is going to pay nezek chetzi nezek, half of nezek. So basically, what he's trying to do is he's comparing the zav to nezekin.
Right.
Any time that the zav is going to be mitameh 100%, chayav nezekin and chayav nezek shalem. But if it's not going to be mitameh by the zav, it's only going to be chetzi nezek. The Rava, right? Rava tzorot shalem. So what? Rava is coming to come and he's going to say that we're coming to teach the halachot of tzorot. What's going on exactly? So he says, no. Rava be'emet egla moshechet bekaron kamashmanan. Rava is coming and teaching, right, the entire concept of, right, the egla shemashcha bekaron, right, that if it's going to come and damage through it, even though the karon, right, is not going to be nogea begufo. That means it's not, here we're talking about the calf.
Body.
The calf is they translate as calf, yeah? The calf is carrying the carriage. Okay, that's what I think they're saying in a caravan.
Yeah, an animal's pulling the load. I don't think it matters if it's a donkey or
whatever, an animal, right? So he comes and he says, when it's actually coming and doing it, he comes and he says, even though the karon is not actually touching its body, but it's connected to it through the ropes or whatever it is, it's not considered, right, kenezek alidet sorot, but rather it's mamash, that it's like the body that's doing it, and therefore you have to pay nezek shalem, right? You have to pay full nezek, right? Why? It's not really touching the body, but it doesn't matter. It's a full extension of the body. We also learned this in accordance to Rava. What is the case that a behema comes and is going to be muad to break b'derech hilucha? What is the case? If an animal goes into the property of a nizak, of a damagee, and it's going to damage with the body, derech hilucha, or with its hair, the way that it's walked, or with the saddle on top of it, or with the load on top of it, or with prumbia, or with the resen. So this resen is the bit in its mouth, uvizog, right, or the pa'amon, which is the bell, which is going to be in its neck, right, or the donkey with its load, or negla, which is shalem nezek shalem. So here it's written mefurash, just like what Rabbi taught. That means this is considered nezek shalem. Why? Because this is considered part of the body, even though it's not actually touching the body. Okay, nekuda. Next, Tanu Rabbi, we went to the Braita. Tanagulim shayu mechatetin. Imagine right now the tarnagulim, they're pecking with their beaks, right? They're looking around, right, with a chevel or and the dli. Now remember, the chevel is holding up the dli. The dli is like the bucket, and the bucket, whenever the rope, right, is picking up the bucket. So now what happens is it broke the rope, right, and the dli breaks. So the owners have to pay nezek shalem. So by Rabba comes and he asks the following question, right? He says, what happens if it comes and it trampled upon a utensil, but it didn't break the utensil? Meaning, when it trampled upon it, it moved it, and therefore it started rolling. And then when it rolled somewhere else, then it broke.
Like 10 seconds later.
Right, yeah, but it broke later, basically, because of right, the chavata. But again, when it broke, so he comes and he says, Mao, what's halacha? Do you say it's going to be nezek shalem or chetzi nezek? So, batar meikarazin, and do we go after the beginning, which means the beginning of the action, right? And therefore it's ki'ilu, it broke from that action, or begufehu, and at the end of the day it comes from his body, or dilmar maybe, batar tavar manazin. We go after when did it actually break? And since it only broke afterwards, right? So therefore it's considered shavu later on. It's like tzorot,
right? So
therefore that's the question. So therefore, what is it? Is it that mamash migufo or tzorot? So says the Gemara, where do we actually answer it from Rabba? Rabba comes and he says, imagine you throw a utensil from the roof, and somebody else comes and he smashes it mid-air with a stick, with a makel. I was playing baseball. Boom, smash it. Yeah, smash it mid-air. Patur, you're going to be patur. Why?
It's similar to if a guy's falling off the roof, he's going to die, and then you shot an arrow in him.
Exactly. So he says, Damnina lay, right? Richard, we don't like, you're so boring.
Come on, I didn't make it.
I know that. He comes and he says, Damnina lay, and we're going to come and we're going to say that to the balakli, manatavira tabar. You broke something which was already broken. Meaning, what did you already do? You took something which was already broken because it was already going to be broken.
If it's fall on something soft and
no, you already see that it's falling on the ground. You already know it's
not something heavy.
Yeah, you already know it's
going through the window, no?
Yeah, no, but I throw it outside and you see that right below where it's going to smash, is going to smash in 2 million pieces. Right? And right before it smashes, mamash, it comes right here, mid-level. I'm here with a baseball bat. I come and say, boom, home run, and I smashed it to another 1 million pieces. Yeah? At the end of the day, he says, you broke a utensil. So l'Rabba, pshita l'Rabba mibayle. He says, no, you're right. For Rabba, it was pashut. But Rabba had the question. Okay, that's what the Gemara answers. So Tashima, let's try to answer the question of Rabba, right? Hidus and a muad. Dancing is not considered muad. Yeah, so a tarnegol that comes and he damages while he's dancing, he's not considered muad. Some people say it is muad. So he do salkadai. You're going to tell me, Rabbi, now we obviously have the question of that. So he says, what's the case? Obviously, if he's dancing around, that's regel. Why is he not considered
hopping? Is a better word.
Okay, hopping.
Thank you. Much better.
Right, because they don't dance. But I'm just saying, well, that's.
I was all confused, but I'm better.
Okay, fine. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Yeah, some people they dance and they say that the dancing really they're hopping as well. Right? Elalav rather he does v'itis. What does that mean? The tanegol he was hopping around. Okay. And he says because of that, he was matiz, he shot out these pebbles, as we already mentioned. Again, this is a machlok between them. The more and one of them says that we go after the beginning. And therefore, since he was mazik begufo, so therefore he's a mual nezek, and therefore he's going to be chayav nezek shalem. More savar, and the other tarakama holds, no, but tartavar manazinan, you broke it, it was already broken. And therefore, since it was already going to be broken, so it doesn't have a muad for nezek, and therefore the baalim are going to be chayav only chetzi nezek. Because it was already going to be, it was like that you already broke it. So says the Gemara, no, that's not the explanation of the Gemara. BTs, right? Srorot, really we're talking about that he broke the utensil when he shot out these pebbles, and then it broke the utensil. And in such a case, uveplukta de sumchus Rabban Kamibelge. That's a machlok between sumchus and Rabbanan. Are you going to be chayav chetzi nezek or nezek shalem? If you remember, that was a machlok between them. According to sumchus, you pay nezek shalem. According to Rabbanan, you pay chetzi nezek. So it's the same machloket, and that was the machlok between them, and it wasn't that machlok. So you cannot bring a proof from this bright that you can't answer up Rava that what's the case. Whether it's like, you throw it down and all of a sudden you're going to smash it in the middle air and so on and so forth, what's going to be the halacha in such a case?